test my camera because I
Uh,
want to know if I am, how do I test it?
Ma'am, it's right there next to the
Yeah,
mic button.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, maybe I can just try, okay? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, am I visible? Am I?
Yes, ma'am, you're
Yeah,
visible.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hi.
Hi, ma'am.
Okay.
Hello,
Hello.
ma'am.
Hi, I can't see any one of you. So are you all off camera?
Yes, ma'am. Mine is on. I guess perhaps some network issues. We can see you.
Oh, okay. As long as,
Okay.
okay.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So I'll be introducing you now, ma'am, and then you can begin with your presentation.
And
Okay?
I can navigate through my
Yes,
PowerPoint.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am, you can.
Sounds good.
Good afternoon to everyone. Our next speaker today is Dr. Rashmi Sahi. She is the head of English at St. Stephen's College Preparatory School, Hong Kong. Dr. Sahi is a seasoned traveler and sports enthusiast and has been teaching in Hong Kong for about 2 decades. She's an avid reader and is a staunch advocate of using literature as a powerful language teaching and learning tool and has developed literature based writing and reading courses for various age groups. Dr. Sahi has a PhD and an MPhil in English literature along with PGCE in education. As department head of English at the prestigious St. Stephen's College School, she has been recruiting and mentoring teachers from English speaking countries for over a decade now. Her topic for today's presentation is Personal Nourishment's Superfood for Thought. All right, ma'am, over to you. We are very pleased to have you with us.
Thank you. I'm not even sure who introduced me, but thank you so much for that.
I'm Aisha. We've been
I,
speaking on.
oh, Aisha, I can see the your microphone muted here, so I was just guessing.
All right.
Thank you so
Yes,
much,
ma'am.
Aisha,
You're
for
welcome, ma'am.
introducing me. And when you hear all those things, it seems that you're talking about somebody else, you know. So I was so, anyways, I mean, so I'm Rashmi Sahi from Hong Kong, but I'm originally from Indore.
Yes,
So
all right, ma'am.
so
Okay.
I am basically like the lady poha loving person
Okay.
from Indore. So
Okay,
yeah,
that's really nice to know, ma'am.
and I've been living
Poha and jalebi, yes.
in,
That's the Indori thing.
and you miss it here because you don't get the same taste.
Yeah.
So today's topic, as I mean, you mentioned, is about nourishment, about personal nourishment. But before I begin, I just want to start from thanking everyone who is here. Thank you for your taking out time to come to this session because I believe that there is no greater generosity than the gift of time because other things can be supplanted. You can make more money, you can have more friends, you can buy more clothes, but time is finite. Time is written. In many traditions, it's maktub. So taking out time to come to this session to join in the for a common cause, I'm left humble and I'm in awe. So I hope, pray, and my intention is that from today's lesson, you would be more, you would go away more kinder, softer, and more yourself. So let's begin the session. Can I have the PowerPoint, please? Hi. Am I audible? Can I have the PowerPoint,
Yes,
please?
ma'am.
Can I have the
Yes, we are sharing your PowerPoint, ma'am. We are
thank you.
sharing you.
Thank you.
Um, is it? Yes, ma'am. We've started sharing your presentation.
I can let me just can you just direct me where would I find where do I change it from?
Ma'am, if you would, I can change it for you if you ask me to. Like, I'll just keep on moving the slides.
Okay, all right. Okay, so today's topic, as you can see, is a super food for thought, and it is about personal nourishment. I'm a very, very big fan of personal nourishment because I think we all owe spiritual, intellectual, physical, and mental development to ourselves. That is basically
इसको full screen से हटा सकते हो आप मुझे
um, our own requirement, and it is our duty to ourselves. So, as John Digwin says, we talk about life and story. So, what I'm going to do is I am going to my presentation is in the form of a story. Can I change the slide, please? Maybe if you can tell me, I can. Is there some way that I can move my slide?
Ma'am, we'll be sharing. We'll be changing it. The slides.
Okay. Can I have the second one, please?
Yes, please. Yes, ma'am. So ये होगा is this.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. So we basically, if you pause for a bit and if you reflect, we tell our lives through stories. Like suppose if today's session, after today's session, this would become a story. It would be like, oh, somebody from Hong Kong came and she wore the news or whatever the takeaway would be. And you know, she was moving so much, or she was sitting, or she was talking in a funny way, or story. We become stories. And we can only make sense of our life through stories. So that is why when I was trying to decide for our presentation, I thought of borrowing from somewhere else and talking about something else. But then I realized I think it would be better if I tell my own story. So I decided to tell you my story and the title, because as every good story would have a title. So my title for today's story is Postponing Dreams, a Life Well Traveled. So that is my story. But normally the story would start from once upon a time there was, but no, my story would start from one day and then we start the story. So you can see my story is not going to go chronological, and my story actually starts from a middle of something. So my story starts from a hospital bed. Um, can I have this slide number 4, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So what happened was one day I woke up and I found myself feverish. And as normally what we do is when we have fever, and in India especially, and I'm a true blue Indian at heart, you put in clothing. That's what you do. So, I mean, there was the fever, and the crocin was my best friend. So I took the crocin and I went to work. I had a meeting that day. So I went to work and went to the meeting. Well, coming back, in Hong Kong, you normally travel by, I mean, there are trains are very good. The underground trains are excellent. So I'm coming back with my friends and we are standing on the platform talking. And then it was a Friday and I come back, I get a text from my friend saying, hey, I might be going to the doctor tomorrow. And if there is something, if I don't reply to you, message my husband. Now, it was a very unusual request because she was a friend, but not that close friend. And I will talk more about the friends in my next slide. Friend, and it was a very unusual request from him to ask me to call her husband. And I said, well, what's happening? And she's like, nothing. My doctor just told me and I'm going to talk, I'm going to just get my results back. I said, okay. I mean, all fine, you're looking good. Next day, Saturday, I go get a fever, high fever, and I get a text from her. She said, oh, I'm going to the doctor. I said, wonderful, that's doctor. And then afternoon comes, and I hear nothing from her. I wait until 2 o'clock. I'm getting restless. I sent a message to her. She doesn't reply. And then I messaged the husband, and he messages me back and says, she has been diagnosed with cancer. And not just cancer, she's been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Oh.
I'm sitting in my chair. I'm mortified. I'm like, how can this be even possible? I met her yesterday. She was fine, completely fine. She was smiling. We had plans for Christmas. It was Christmas time that time. We had plans for Christmas. How can this even be? So she later sent me the message, and she's like, I'm going to the hospital and I'm going to get admitted, but I think there is some problem. It's the diagnosis is wrong because I feel fine and I wanted to be that. In the meantime, in my own thing, I am getting fever. My fever is getting higher and higher. My fever is not subsiding. At 11 o'clock that night, I got my fever went up to 104. It would not come down. So I had to call an ambulance. And I was taken to the hospital that day. The fever, apparently, it was only fever. I was like, they checked everything, like your blood pressure and all those things that you do initially, but it was just a fever. Later, next day, they started my treatment. So they gave me the antibiotic and all, all the general shebang that they give you. But the fever refused to come down. This went on for a week. So they thought maybe the antibiotic dose, they manipulated the antibiotic dose, and they tried to give me different sorts of combinations, but the fever refused to come down. Parallelly, my friend is also admitted, and she is starting on chemo. And here I am sitting in the hospital bed, don't know what is happening. I mean, I didn't take much of it because I'm like, okay, fever, it's okay. Maybe the fever has spoiled. You know how in India we say, bukhar bigad gaya. So I thought maybe that was all it is. And then later, they started testing me. They started testing me for all sorts of things. So first it was the normal test, the malaria, the typhoid, the flu, and all those, the repertoire of the initial tests. Then came the difficult one. It was like hepatitis. They started testing me for, of course, cancer, and then AIDS, even AIDS, and then nothing was found. The problem that started was with the whole treatment thing. Every day, the doctors would come to me. I will look up at their faces, scared, not knowing what would come out of their mouth that would change my life forever. And I sat there and thought in my hospital bed, I have so much to do. I have not done this and that. I have a long bucket list. The things that I kept postponing. It was a long list. I started thinking about all those things. Every day, the same situation would happen. In the morning, the doctor would come and the doctor would bring in all the pads and all, look at me and say, the result is inconclusive. Oh, we didn't find anything. I started thinking, if they didn't find anything, does it mean that I don't have anything? That could be a possibility, isn't it? The doctor was like, no, there must be something. There must be some cause of fever. But if there is nothing, the fever would subside. But it did not. And because it did not, that was a cause of concern. In the meantime, suddenly I realized one day I wanted to get down from the bed and use the toilet. And suddenly I realized I can't stand. My legs won't help. They wouldn't carry my load. I thought maybe my legs, because I was in the bed, I was resting, all those things that you keep telling yourself. I told myself, I'm like, okay, it's nothing. Because you need a pep talk to give yourself to feel better. Otherwise, you would collapse. Hope is the last thing that goes. So I was clinging on to, fiercely clinging on to that. And I couldn't, and I collapsed on the floor. The nurses came running, and I was put back. Then there was, the doctors said, oh, there's something wrong with your muscles. I'm like, okay, so, I mean, if you're testing, there has to be name to my diagnosis. There has to be something that I can understand what is happening. You can't just tell me that there's nothing, but I'm okay, but then the fever wouldn't go. Now my muscles. They started doing a test on me, and then they asked me, one day, next day, the doctor, one of the intern came, and they asked me to, she had a bread in her hand, and she asked me to swallow the bread. And I'm like, okay. So I tried to swallow the bread. The bread would not go in. But I was thinking, I had just a biscuit in the morning and nothing happened. What is happening here? The bread would not go in. Then they tested. I mean, these are all they were doing all the symptomatic things. Then they had the medical thing. So the first thing that they did was they tested my muscles. For the muscles, they had the electromyogram for the muscles, and they gave you how they give you the electric shock. Lo and behold, nothing came out of it. The next day, the doctor came and said, hey, your results are okay. I mean, I should be very happy to listen to that, because if I want to hear that, I should be very, very happy, because of course I don't want anything to happen to me. But something was happening in my body that nobody could diagnose. But it was happening. The results of my swallowing, that I later realized was again a muscle test, was also inconclusive. I did not know what was happening. I didn't know what to think about it. I didn't know. The only thing the doctor would let me get out of the hospital. I was there for 2 weeks. I had been there for 2 weeks. No test, nothing. That would give me my solution. So I was still having high fever. I was still having those problems of muscles. And I wanted to really console myself as a friend would console. But then I realized something different, something interesting about it. Can I have my next slide, please? So let me tell you, in Persian, there are 4 levels of friendship, they say. And it comes from Rumi. If you are interested in Sufism, Maulana Rum, or Rumi, as he's called, he gave 4 levels of friendship. The first level is ashna, where you are a casual friend of somebody. You just are acquaintance, what you call in English acquaintance. You don't know much about the person. You are not really interested in that person. You are just acquaintance. You are the ashna. Then you're a dost. You're a close friend. You might share a lunch or two. You might go out for a movie. You might share a coffee. You're a close friend. You would know if something is happening in the other person's life, kind of superficially. So you're a dost. Then the third one is Rafiq, the best friend. You know, the what the English called the BFF, the best friends forever. That's Rafiq in Persian. And your best friend is somebody who would know your secrets, who would know your ins and outs, and who would be beside you, who would have your back, and who would kind of stand by you. That's a Rafiq. And then you have yar. We have this word in Hindi also, are yar. But in Persian, it has a very, very deep meaning. It's like the inseparable lover. Now, lover here is used in a very wide term. It is not just a romantic relationship. It is also the spiritual relationship that you have with higher powers. It is a relationship where you become one. It is the relationship where the dichotomy is moved. It is removed. Then you become a yar. You become one person. It is not I and you, it is us. So there are 4 levels of friendship. And that day I realized I was just ashna to myself. I was not even a close friend because I did not even know what was happening to me. In my heart, I'm not talking about physically, I did not know how I was feeling. I did not know what was going on. I couldn't even decipher what was going on inside me. If I was a close friend, or I mean, if I was a best friend, I would have known. I was not even a close friend. How did I expect other people to be my friend? What was going on that time was the mechanism of denial, they say. You know, when you are in a state of shock, your defense mechanism, the mechanism that saves your ego. Now, ego here is not the term that you would call, you would talk about in the sense of your pride or something that is supercilious. No, the ego here is the Freudian ego and superego. The ego that would save your id and superego. I was in the hospital bed, nothing was happening. I did not want to feel that I was going down with something that would change my life completely, because that is what was, that was actually happening. So the first defense mechanism that I felt was denial. In the denial, I was denying, like one day a doctor came to me and they said, we found something that could be the cause in your blood. And that would be, and that's something you would need some management in your life. I'm like, no, I don't feel anything bad. I was denying the existence of something bad or the intensity of it. So my first mechanism, the defense mechanism, we all have. When I'm going through the list, think about your own defense mechanism that you have when something bad is said to you, or something bad happens, or something that you do not like happens. How the first thing, like think about sometimes when somebody blames you, what do? You deny, outright deny. Oh no, I did not do it. Did you tell my secret to somebody? Oh no, it was not me. I never do that. It was somebody else. Denial. So the first defense mechanism, denial, changed to quickly displacement. Now the displacement, when I started feeling that, okay, there is something going on that the doctors are trying to name, I was so angry. I was so angry because I had so much to do. I had not even done anything. I was thinking about all those dreams that I have, all those hopes that I have, all those tomorrows that I had promised myself. Where were they? In the meantime, if you remember my friend, we had a parallel story going on, and I can't leave my friend. My friend was transferred to the same hospital. So we are texting each other, and she said, I said, so she's like, oh, I'm in the hospital. I said, I am in the hospital too. She said, which one? I said, this one. She said, I'm in the same hospital too. I find out that she is on the same floor in the next wing. So I go and meet her. And I can't recognize her. She had, because of the chemo and everything, she had changed drastically. But what did not change was her spirit. We started making plans for Christmas. We started making plans. She was so excited about she wanted to have a stall for her Christmas in the Christmas fair of her son. She's like, oh, I have to just get out of here, and I need to prepare the cookies for the stall, and I do it every year, don't I? How can I not do this year? It's only 2 weeks later, and plan. We all plan, and I also planned. So I had this displacement that I have not even started living my life. I had so much to live for. Then started the reaction formation. Now, reaction formation, if you would be able to identify with it for very easily. When you have reaction formation, how many times, like sometimes you are so angry with somebody, but because that somebody is powerful, like think about your boss, think about a person you cannot yell at, and then because you can't yell at, and because you're angry, but you become opposite. You become sweet. You become the sweetest person. That is why sometimes when you talk to somebody and you say, my goodness, too sweet. Some people can get too sweet to your taste. And why? Why do you feel that? Because of the reaction formation. That is called reaction formation in psychology. So what I was doing is when people would come and meet me and visit me, very sweet, and people would see me all these bold and the confident person who was fighting this fever and unknown with great gusto, but inside I was breaking. Come my family, I would be angry. I would be like literally yelling at them. So I had two faces. I was doing all these defense mechanisms I tell you. And then I was projecting my own fear on other people. I was projecting, oh, the life, I'm miserable. I was thinking about all the bad things that life, like, why is this happening? Why me? What did I do? I was such a good person. I led this life properly. I was doing everything properly. And why me? But life goes on, right? Life passes us. It is us who just sit there and wonder. So all these defense mechanisms are going through me. My fever not coming down. My muscles are giving up. I can't now swallow my food. Then I couldn't lift my shoulders. So my shoulders, if I would put it up, I couldn't put on the light switch. I couldn't on it. If it was up, I couldn't comb my hair. So the doctor thought that something was wrong with my muscle. Can I move my PowerPoint to the? Can you keep going? Can you keep going? Yeah. More. More. There is a picture of me, and I want to first talk about that. Yeah. So the doctor sent me to the MRI, the muscle MRI. Now, the muscle MRI, I'm sitting with my dad, all terrified, because before that I had another scan, and the scan came out, there was a problem with the scan. And I'm sitting here leaning on my dad for some comfort and thinking, what have I done? Why am I here? What is happening with me? I was sitting there and I was thinking, if I can talk to someone, what would be the question that I would want to ask? And I just wanted to ask, am I ever going to be okay now? Is it it? Is this it? Before the MRI, my own personal doctor came in. I'm sitting here like that, and my doctor comes to talk to me. And I asked the doctor, is this it? Am I never going to come out from this? And the doctor said, possibly, this is it. You might not, this, because we don't know what is happening, but your organs, some of the organs are shutting. So could be this is it. Because here it's like the patient has a right to know. So the autonomy of information is there. So he couldn't lie to me. And of course, I can see my dad gesturing the doctor not to tell me. So the thing was, okay, it could be that. Then I went into the machine, and the machine, if the MRI machines, those tunnel machine, and then lying there, I promised myself, if I ever survive this, if I ever come out alive, I am going to start living my life. I had a lot of unsaid and undone things. I wanted to live my life, and I promised myself, if I come out of this whole thing alive, whole traumatic experience alive, I will start living my thing. Because before that, just a flashback. I'm born and raised in Indore. I'm a complete Indorian. Okay, so I have been born and raised in Indore, and I moved to Hong Kong 2 decades back, 2 decades back, and when you move to a new country, it was not a very cushioned landing. I had as Aisha mentioned, I had a PhD. I have a PhD and MPhil, and I used to teach in the college in Indore. And here I was without a job. And you also have to understand the Hong Kong context. I had a degree in English literature. And the racism that you talk about, which is a word in India, we don't really think about it. Oh, English teachers, yeah, okay, you teach English, wonderful. But here, I did not have the white skin. I had the degree. I had my qualifications. I did not have the white skin. And I was here to teach English. So the first 2 years, nobody even entertained my application. I did not even get I was not even called for an interview. And this went on, and I did not know what to do. I had no other skill. I was teaching English for so long. That's what I actually did all my life then. So when I came here, and Hong Kong, you must be aware, Hong Kong is one of the most expensive cities in the world. In 2020, it is the second most expensive city in the world after Tokyo. So living in Hong Kong, I would hear my friends saying, "Oh, wonderful! You live in a foreign country, and you are living a dream." But I knew the reality, what I was doing. I was here, no work. Here, if just to give you a context, a small bedroom apartment of 400 square feet. I'm just talking about 400 square feet is considered to be a normal apartment. And it is about 4 million, that would be 40 lakhs in Indian rupees. 400 square foot apartment I'm talking about. So if you go on rent, of course, the rents are equally high. I had no money. Of course, I moved in here with my my family being my husband. My son, I had to leave. I have a son. I had to leave him in Indore. He was in Delhi College that time. I didn't. So you can see the plight. My life was on the hold. And later, when I started working, when I got a job, I was in Indore. I was in college, and here I started teaching in a school. My self-image, my self-worth took a tumble. I didn't know if I should have taken it, but I was desperate. I was so desperate. I started, what I did was I promised myself 2 years and I'm out of here. I can't teach. I can't lower myself that. My life was still waiting, right? When I started teaching here, I realized, so I was, later I was made I was offered the head of it in the department. But before that, I had to prove myself. My accent was wrong. My looks were wrong. Everything was wrong because when they wanted an English teacher, white, and then a different accent. Again, the life was on hold. I was learning. I kept on working with that. And then the day I was offered the head of the department, and now I have, of course, I hire people. But what I'm trying to tell you, you can see the life was always on hold. I was still not living. So sitting there with my dad and about to go in the MRI machine, I promised myself no more. I would start reclaiming my life bit by bit, even if it was bit by bit. Because when you start taking a huge, big leap, you might fumble. You might not be able to put up. That would be just the adrenaline rush, the one time. I wanted to sustain it. My food, my thought, my superfood came through the little sustenance. That's what I promised. That day sitting there, when the results came, nothing came out. And I still don't know. Nothing came out. What was told to me was the stress level was so high that your body started breaking. And that day I realized that the physical manifestation of stress is a real thing. It's not just a word, it really happens. And that is the day when I started thinking about my personal nourishment. What would it take to keep me, or what would take to bring the best in me, or to be for the self-actualization? What would it take? So, and then I came across this, I read about from Mary Oliver. Listen, are you breathing just a little? I'm calling it alive. And that's what I was doing. So basically, I thought I was living, as T.S. Eliot also said, where is the life that's gone in living? We really did not, it was just the life that was spent in 9 to 5. I had lost myself in it. So when I came out of it, I went to visit my friend. My friend looked okay, a bit better. And then she still wanted to go to the Christmas fair. Unfortunately, after 10 days of my release from the hospital, she passed away. That double blow, I couldn't get over it. There was this person with so many dreams, so many aspirations. She, like little dreams of going to a fair for the son. And I realized life waits for none. If it is now or really never. And I told myself to stop fretting for small things. Because every time I started fretting, I started asking myself. Her name was Teresa. So I would ask myself, if Teresa was given this option to look thin or go to the or enjoy life, what would she choose? She would, of course, choose life. So I started getting my perspective changed. So I started doing small steps. So my first step was doing something that I loved doing. It was a very simple thing. Going to the cafe and having coffee. I love coffee. I'm a coffee lover. But when the life was on hold, I would go to the cafe, but my mind was always buzzing about, oh, I have to go back and do XYZ. So I was always thinking of, I was not there. Of course, you know how Buddhists would say in the present. I was never in the present, I tell you. I was always thinking about that next thing that I have to do. I was with the coffee, but coffee was with me, but I was not with the coffee. So I wanted to start from that very simple but very important change that I would wanted to make. So I decided that I would go for coffee once a week. So the idea was, when you want to make changes, you want to have a concrete change. If you say, oh, I will go for coffee sometime, what is sometime? Sometime could be once a week, once a month, or once a year. So I had to give myself concrete goals. So my concrete goal was initially to go for coffee once a week. The coffee became my symbol of bringing myself to myself. When I started doing that, I realized that when I was there, of course I felt better, of course. But it was more than that. It was a little victory for me. And that little victory gave me confidence. It gave me the self-awareness of nourishment, what I really liked to do. So the coffee became my personal symbol whenever I would deflect, or whenever I would feel bad, or whenever I would lose myself in something, I would step back and ask myself, when did I last have my coffee in the cafe? And trust me, many times it was like 2 weeks. Oh, I forgot. Because when I did not bring myself to help myself, I started breaking up. So coffee became that little thing. I wanted to start with little. And so the coffee became that little thing of change. The next thing that I changed, I tried to change, I would say, was reading and coffee and the beach. I live. It's so funny that this is where I live. This is down my house, and you can see. I mean, people would say, when people would say, oh, I went to the beach for a holiday, I was right there. I could go there every day. But for first 10 years, I was lying to myself all the time. Oh, when I have time, I will go. One day, yeah, today I'm very busy. You would not believe that I did not go there very often for first 10 years. And then I realized what happened to Teresa could have happened to me. I could have been that. So I started going. My ritual became to go down to the beach at the sunset. You can see that the sunset is happening. There is a ferry pier. If you can see the ferry pier, the ferry would come there. The boat that would take, because Hong Kong is made up of islands, so there are beautiful islands there. Hong Kong is actually gorgeous. Don't let people mislead you that Hong Kong is a concrete city. It is concrete, but there is gorgeousness all around. So this is just one of the beach. This is actually a small beach. So I started getting down there on the sunset, during the sunset, and I would have time to reflect on my day. And I would have the time to understand, to get my nourishment, my personal nourishment. That personal nourishment came in the form of pausing and reflecting on that day. And just surrendering to this beauty that was nature. And as Mary Oliver said, you have to just stand there and feel the blessings. And then there is this quote is from Rumi. There are many hundreds, there are hundreds of ways, I'm sorry for the typo, there are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the earth. Yes, this was the prayer. This was my prayer offering to the nature. My way of saying, being grateful of just being alive. I was actually very happy just being alive. I was just happy to be able to get down to that beach and walk on that beach without falling. I was very happy to be able to read, because I was told that I would never be able to read because my vision started becoming blurry. And the doctor thought that I'm losing, my retina had some problem. So I was very, very happy to read. And of course, with that, I was very, very happy to have my coffee. So this was my prayer offered for just being alive. So I started doing that. Every evening during the sunset, during sunset, I would go down and I would just be there. Before that, I would rush into things. The moment the sun would go down, I would rush back. I was one of those people who would look at the beauty and I would get very stressed because I had to appreciate it. I had to pause and appreciate it. And because I had other things waiting for me, not this one, but other things, I didn't have time. And because I didn't have time, I was guilty at watching this beauty. But then when everything happened and I was, as the story goes, I started enjoying it. I started saying no to the social obligations. How many of us actually have the obligations and like social obligations kill us sometimes? We are feeling sick, we have a headache, but oh, I have a phone call to make to my aunt or my chachi and to my mommy because, or something. We are buried in those obligations. I started letting go of the obligations. My obligations were going for the events. I'm not a very social person, so I didn't like the event, but I forced myself to go. But after I realized, yes, the days are numbered, I wanted to have the most important things. in the center of my life. So I started going down there. And if during that time somebody wanted to meet or somebody, it was my time. So that came in. And then, as I mentioned, I lived on the beach, but my relationship with the beach was like the next picture. Can I have the next picture, please? This was my relationship with the beach. This is down the same beach where I showed you the picture. You can see the mountains there. You can see I would just go like that, and that was all I would do. And we have in Hong Kong at this beach at least there is a sports school. Never thought. I'm like, I have no time. So the first thing that I did, I'm a very sport person, so I love my exercise comes from not from on the treadmill. My exercise comes from outdoors. So I joined a dragon boat team in Hong Kong. The dragon boat is a very common activity. So the teams compete every year during June, in April and in June. In June there is a Dragon Boat Festival, but twice a year there is overall Hong Kong competition of Dragon Boat. So what you do is, as you can see, this is called the Dragon Boat because it is shaped in the form of a dragon. I don't know swimming, so you can understand that I was the last choice. I was like, the rational mind was like, I don't know swimming. Why would I go and join Dragon Boat? But after that, I wanted to do all the adventures that I could. When I went and talked to the Dragon Boat captain, he said, "Oh well, come in. You can wear the vest, the life vest, and then that would be okay." So I started training. And if you remember, I had the muscle problems. I couldn't lift my arms. I still couldn't lift much of my arm. But when I started, the Dragon Boat has what do you call that? I'm missing the name. My vocabulary is missing. When you paddle, it's called a paddle. So when the paddle is very heavy. So you push the paddle. So when the paddle would go in, the boat moves forward. I started practicing. Although initially it was very painful, but I was told the pain would go away and the muscles would start building. And they started building. I started practicing twice a week. And once from that twice a week was during nighttime. And imagine I don't know swimming. I know some of you must be sitting there and thinking, this is not rational. This is so senseless. Why you are going to put yourself out there? But I really wanted to do that. I had always seen the dragon boats and I loved it, but I had always never had time. So I decided to do that. I decided to join. So often what would happen is that because of the turbulence in water, water can be rough sometimes. When the boat would rock and it would jump, the first question everybody would scream is, "Oh, where is Rashmi?" That if I was in the water, they would pull me out. And I started doing the dragon boat. And that dragon boat, you can see we won the competitions also. So that was my little victory on my physical problem. That was my challenge because I did not want to give up. And that was my challenge. Next, I went hiking because I loved outdoors. So in Hong Kong, there are about 300 hikes. And in here, in this picture, although it looks a little rough, but government has made such beautiful arrangement on the hikes. They have most of the hikes, many a times the hikes are all paved, concrete. I started hiking. I started climbing one mountain after the other. And when I started doing it, I started gaining strength in my legs. Initially, it was very difficult. I would join meetups, and the problem with the meetups were everybody would go in front of you, and I would be the last one to always read. But it did not matter, because there would always time. I was the last one. Didn't matter. As long as I was walking, as long as I could do something that I like, as long as somebody was not telling me that you would never walk again, I was hiking. And it was not just in Hong Kong. I went last December to Oman, and I hiked onto one of the mountains there also. The second picture is of the hike there. Sunshine, like we hiked, and it was the sunrise. So I started hiking. I started climbing my own mountain to nourish myself. So the next thing then, so I had coffee, I had my beach, I had my hiking, and I've always loved traveling. I have traveled a lot, to be very honest. Um, but this picture, this is my son, and this picture is right after my illness. I had always wanted to travel. I had traveled to Europe a lot of times, but every time I would come back, the first question of my dad would be, so where did you go to Europe? Did you go to Switzerland? Oh, no, Dad, I did not. For him, if you have not been to Switzerland, wherever you travel in the world, it does not really matter. So for him, it didn't matter that I had traveled half the world. It did not really matter. What mattered was I had not been to Switzerland. That's what. So I decided to take my parents along. I decided because I wanted to invest in people. I wanted to invest in memories. So we did a road trip. And this picture, of course, we all have, we take pictures where we all look good. So of course, I'm going to put a picture where I am going to, where it is looking good. But I was in so much pain because I could not climb up inside the car. My arms were still not okay. My legs were still not okay. Every time I would climb, I would be in pain, so much pain. But I didn't want to give up. There was a point where I was like, it looked like that I would have to come back, but I carried on. So that was my promise. The moment after I came, like I think it was a one month later, I did that road trip, and not just that. I took my parents along with me. I wanted to invest in people. I wanted to have them with me when I was enjoying, because they stood by me when I was miserable. So the second picture I have of my family with me, and this is in Switzerland, and it was my parents' 50th anniversary. I had all my family, like my brothers and sisters. My brother and sister they came back to Indore, and we were supposed to have a party, but I was not interested. Because I didn't want to. In my opinion, I mean, there's no harm in gathering. Like, of course, there's no harm in partying, but I didn't want the obligation to come to a party. For me, like if somebody invited me, it was an obligation to give a gift and to be there and everything. I wanted to give them a life experience. So I wanted to travel. I wanted to travel with my parents once to make the memories. And trust me, I was not disappointed. This picture was, I think, 2 years back. And I can tell you, until now, every time my dad is free, he would sit with the iPad to look at the pictures. So the nourishment was not just what I would do. The nourishment was also how I would help other people to be a part of that nourishment. So it is not about Switzerland. It is not about the travel. It is about being together when you can be together. not postponing for later, not postponing for like I would go later. Oh, I can take my parents later. Nobody knows later. I did not know later. I was not even, I was given that ultimatum that would have not taken me to the later. So this was also accomplished when I came back. So I started traveling extensively. I started doing things that I would not do normally during travel. I started walking a lot during travel. I would not go to the touristy place. Like when I went to Rome, I would not go to the Colosseum. I didn't go inside. I would walk around. I wanted to taste the culture. Before I was very tired. I was always, I'm very tired. Can we? No, I was allowed to walk, remember? And that walking became my way of bringing myself back to me. Little thing, but it brought back myself to me. Then I, because I'm an introvert, I don't like to go socializing. I wanted to try something completely opposite that I had never tried. So I joined a theater group. And I auditioned for the acting, but I chickened out. I'm like, no, that is not for me. I'm still not ready for that. The director offered me, she said, if you don't want to act, it's okay. We want somebody for the costume designing. So I ended up being a costume designer for a theater play. And you can see with that team there, talent, so much talent there. I learned from these people. I learned so much from these people. I tried, but I realized that doing the theater was not that easy. The costume designing was okay, but then being on the stage was not my cup of tea. Also, I wanted always to go to a university, very good university for a course. So I enrolled myself in Stanford University course for summer. I didn't want to do it online. I wanted to go there, experience, because when I was in India, when I was doing my PhD, I did my PhD when I was married and I had a kid. So I never enjoyed learning. I was doing it because, I mean, in the middle of everything, cooking and, the whole thing, the whole package. I really didn't enjoy MPhil and PhD. So I wanted to do something just for the fun of it. So I went to Stanford in US, and I did a course on reading and writing. Trust me, that experience changed me. I didn't realize how much fun it can be to be in the classroom and to learn from people who are really, really passionate about what they do. So here I am in Stanford. And I mean, I don't want to add there that I got fever there and it was scary, but I enjoyed it. That became my intellectual nourishment. I did that for just to prove myself that I can be in the classroom still and I can still learn. I've not given up on learning. So that's what I did. Next, please. When I was doing that, the learning not just came from the courses, the learning also came from, I've just put these two pictures, but I have met some amazing, amazing teachers on the way. On the left is my niece, who is all of 9 years old. She is not really interested in studies, but she is absolutely fantastic in planting, and she loves plants. She had so much knowledge. And then on in the next picture, he is a special man, and He's 100 years old. His name is Yawar Abbas, and he is a documentary filmmaker. He used to, and when I say is, I'm using present tense. He used to work for BBC, London. He came after my illness, 1 year. He came back. He came to stay with me for 2 weeks. He was then 96. He would get up every day and he would do yoga every single day. And then after that, he would sit next to the window and read for hours together. All my books, I have a lot of books, so many of my books. This 96-year-old man read. And why did he read? He wanted to get an idea of the documentary that he wanted to make. And he still wants to make. And not just that. He recently got married when he turned 100. He recently got married for third time. What I learned from him, to never be, to be unapologetic about your life, to be unapologetic that for the choices that you make. Because I was the kind of person who would be like giving justification. Oh, I'm doing this because not just, it was never enough that I liked it. I was giving justice. He taught me to be unapologetic for the choices he made. When he turned 100, and he of course got the letter from the Queen, as people in England do. And one day when I got a phone call and he's like, guess what? I got married. And I was not surprised because that was him. That is him. And he's living life like we can only dream of. Then I met not just these people, I learned from these animals also. So on the left-hand side, I met this dog, don't know, stranger. Look at the surrender. Look at the joy on the face. Look, just this little activity. On the right-hand side, this white dog is a survivor from the dog racing. He was used for dog racing, and you would understand the inhumane treatment that must have happened there. But here he was. I had met him after 2 years this time. And I never thought that he would recognize me. And this is how I was greeted, with love, with so much openness. And that's what he taught me. So I was leading and learning and doing things that I liked. And you would be thinking that, so there's so much learning going on, but there were things that I tried and I hated. But that doesn't really matter. I'm here to do a course. You can see in the picture. I always thought I was a creative person. I love art, I love creation. So I joined an introductory course on arts. So there were sculpture and painting and everything else, 1 day a week. And I hated it. I realized what I did not like. So I wanted to try, and I good that I tried, because then I pushed it away, think that nourishment didn't really work for me. But it was okay. It was okay to try. It was okay to not like. Then I had, I still write for magazines. This is one of my articles in the UK-based magazine called Confluence. I still write for it. But I realized, like, every time somebody would say, so the writer part was a predominant part of me. Oh, what do you do? Oh, I write for this magazine. And I realized that I really didn't like it that much. I mean, I enjoy it, but not to make it in the forefront of my writing, of my life. So I started tailing off, not writing, because I used to write every 4 month, because it is a quarterly magazine from London, I started writing less and less. Before it was like, oh, I'm very busy. Then I started accepting the fact that I don't really enjoy that much. I also dabbled in radio show, and I had, and I really felt like an imposter. I really thought that, this is not me. I dabbled in that also because I wanted to try everything before it was taken away from me, before it was denied to me. So I tried that, didn't like it, gave up, never tried it again. And now, one thing that I always had promised myself, that I would do a degree just for the fun of it, something that I really am close to. And I had been looking and searching for that degree for years. And then I found it. Now I'm enrolled in Masters of Counseling because I am very interested in people. I'm very interested in the nourishment. I'm very interested in why we do what we do. And so I decided to enroll myself for counseling because ultimately I want to work with women and children, the ethnic minority. Here I can work with ethnic minority because I speak Hindi. So there are a lot of people who need help here. And I decided to do that. It is very, very intense course, I have to tell you. It's it is unlike master's course in like what I have done before. It is absolutely intense. There is presentations and assignments, and it's just full on with my full-time job and my university teaching. But I wanted to do it before it was too late. I wanted to give myself an opportunity. It was okay. Before I started this course, I had told myself it is okay if I don't walk it through or I don't carry it through. It is okay to drop after one module. It is okay not to do well. But I wanted to do it. I wanted to try. I wanted to give this opportunity to myself, to the person the promise that I had made myself. And that promise I had to keep. I had to be true to myself. So this nourishment had to come to me. So I started doing this. I have just started, and it's like it has been 3 months, but I'm enjoying it very much. People often ask, what advice would you give to your younger self? And I always used to give all sorts of, I would not do this and that. And then I came to realize, if I had given advice to my younger self, would I have even listened to the advice? Was I even in a place where somebody giving me an advice and I would follow through? No. So I stopped thinking about the regrets. I stopped thinking about what should have done, could have done, must have done. I started understanding that this path that I had followed was meant to be, maktub. And that is why the advices were not really necessary. So I decided to live my life to the fullest, to nourish myself, and to be the best for myself, best of myself. That is the personal nourishment. And I hope, and this is me on a hike, and it started raining, and I loved it because I could just walk and I could be just there and enjoy, not in a hospital bed where I was confined and where I thought I would never ever come out. To just stand there and enjoy the breeze on my face was enough. So my friends, I just want you to find your own personal nourishment. Don't let people tell you what nourishes you. In sharing my story, I just wanted to show you that even you don't have to be in the adverse situation to come out here. The personal nourishment can come in so many different forms. Find your own path, find your own rainbow. This is this is the actual picture. All the pictures are clicked by me. This is one of the pictures. It was my first time looking at the rainbow, full, complete rainbow, and I was mesmerized. Again, from my hospital window, I never had thought that I would be able to enjoy just these simple things. And trust me, after that, I have started enjoying my simple things. So, my friends, today's if there is something that you would take away from this lecture, is start now to have your personal nourishment. Because what if tomorrow never comes? What if tomorrow doesn't come? Thank you for listening.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your incredible story with us. It is truly inspiring, and hopefully, this pandemic will, it has inspired us to take life by the horns, just like your story, and, not put things off for tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Does anyone have any questions that they wish to ask Rashmi, ma'am? Do any of the participants have any questions? So I guess that is it, ma'am. Thank you for being here with us, and thank you.
I do
Yes,
have a
please.
question.
Yes, ma'am. Please.
I don't have a question, but I just want to thank Dr. Rashmi Madam. Your story is indeed very inspiring, very strengthening, and it gives me a lot of. It's also encouraging, also.
I'm so
So,
happy.
looking at you, ma'am, I feel that my problems, which I have in my day-to-day life, they are very, very minute. I mean, they don't stand in front of you. So you have really inspired, and you now I think I have more than one role model. I just
Oh,
have as my
no.
mom as my role model. So because I always look forward to my mother, but I can happily say that you can be second role model in my
Oh
life
my.
because it's such a beautiful story, such a strengthening. I mean, I cannot believe, you know, you are such a strong lady. Trust
Oh,
me. So I'm really thankful to the team also that they have introduced you to us. Um,
thank you, Kiran, so much. I mean, I am humbled. I just can say I'm really humbled. So nice
no,
of
ma'am,
you.
I'm also very happy. Trust me. I mean, I cannot imagine. Like I always felt God gives so many problems to me. I always cribbed, and they said, "Why me? Why me?"
Yeah.
But then I look now. I can look and say no. It is like it's with everybody. So I'm really grateful and thankful to you, madam, for sharing with us your experiences, and we have. I think I have learned a lot. It is changing. It's indeed a very changing time for me today. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
I am humble. I'm so happy to hear that Usha really learned something from me.
I would request everyone to please turn on their videos for a bit, and so that we can just. And ma'am,
Now this is
Francis.
yes, ma'am. Can you see me now?
We can see you.
Thank you. What? We are at home and not in that good shape to show our faces, so it's a little bit shy to come on that video and just
Don't be.
tell
That's what I told you. When I sat there in the hospital bed, looking all messed up and everything, and when I thought about my friend, what would she like? Now I started asking myself, okay, if I'm not looking okay, then if people judge me, so what? I am alive. I'm thriving, isn't it? I mean, isn't that we have to be grateful about little things. It's those little things that make us. Trust me. So I'm so happy to be here. Hi.
and I
Yes.
would like to say that one more thing I learned from you. You carry a very beautiful smile on your face. So and that is really very good. So I'm going to take that the take home message from you is that smile. Carry a smile with you always, whatsoever happens in life. So
I'm,
it's wonderful. I love this session. I enjoyed a lot, and
I'm
I'm
so
really very happy.
thank
It's
you.
really very much to learn from you. I would like to hear next time more if any time we could meet.
Sure. When I
Uh,
come to Indore, I think I mean, when the COVID goes away, when the flights are on, I come to Indore every year. So of course,
I stay
That's
in
great,
Mumbai,
ma'am.
ma'am. I'm from Mumbai. I
okay.
stay in Mumbai, so I would just request you, could you please send your email ID or any mode of contact so that
Oh, sure.
we can have a good contact, and if we want, our institute can ask you to share some of your experiences with our students as well.
Definitely, definitely. But I mean, I don't know how I send you the my email address. So,
The
um,
chat box, ma'am. I
oh,
think
oh,
you should share it through that.
I'm actually I can't type anything. It looks like.
There
Uh,
are three dots on the screen. If you can see,
yes,
no, there is a chat box up above the screen. If you can see.
yes. The chat box is open and keypad. I no, Aisha,
Yeah,
would you mind typing my email address?
yeah. I just typed, ma'am. One second. I'll
Oh,
just type.
okay. I got it. Three dots. I saw the three dots now. Uh,
Uh, I think there's a chat box icon which is there on the
yeah.
screen about the on the right hand side corner. Can you see, ma'am?
Yes, yes. I
Ma'am,
could.
I am typing your email address.
Okay,
Yeah.
great,
Okay,
great.
okay, okay. No problem.
So thank you, Kiran, for
Yes, yes.
thank you.
Thank you
I
so
Thank
much.
you so much, Rashmi ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for inviting me.
No, yeah. Really, we are honored and privileged that you shared your personal experiences in such an enlightening and motivational way. And next time, whenever you are visiting to Indore, I request that you just be in contact with me and my team all the time so that we can invite you once again.
Oh, sure, that would be a pleasure.
Yes.
Pleasure. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay.
Thanks to all the participants. Thank you so much. And tomorrow session, second session will be followed by the valedictory and feedback. So I request all the participants to be there, and we just need your insights on the 5 days workshop. Thank you so much. Tomorrow's
Thank
session will begin at the same time at 10 in the morning.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye bye. Have a nice time, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.